They're your best friends. Who are the people running after money, the people running after cars, the people running after houses and wives and husbands and all, and clothes and shopping? Are they your friends? And they're all right. But who are your friends? The ones who are looking for Allah. That's your real friend. That's the friend who will benefit you in the long run. Those are the people who will help you in the long run. So spend time with them. Be with them. That's why I said the basis of the whole thing began. Where did this begin? Dar al-Arqam. Read your books about what is Dar al-Arqam. Dar al-Arqam, the Prophet ﷺ established Dar al-Arqam at the very beginning in Mecca for people to come together. That's where Umar radiallahu ta'ala became Muslim, because of his sister reading Quran. That's how people got to know about it in the beginning, through Dar al-Arqam. That's what this is in our time and in our place. This is Dar al-Arqam. The same kind of understanding, the same kind of thing. People came together, men and women. They ate, they prayed together, they ate together, they read, listened to Quran. The Prophet would read, they would read, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's how it began. That's what we would say. We need to build these things again. We need to have these things again. We need to have these places again for this thing, for ourselves, and so that Islam will be established in truth and in reality, inshaAllah ta'ala. So, again, I not have no time. I want to find something. What? He tells you, what's the things to watch out for? All right, what to watch out for? He was talking before that, he talked about purpose, so we talked about that, all right? Sincerity, we talked about that. The Shaykh said, courtesy is the key to the door. Who doesn't have courtesy does not enter. The one who has bad manners with the awliya, they're going to be turned away from the door and they will go into the realm of the animals. Courtesy. So, purpose, sincerity, courtesy, and the state of being. And the state of being, Shaykh said, must be in line with the Sharia. So you don't harm yourself or harm the other people. The one who does not have that will not reach. You need to have a pure state. In other words, you have to develop in yourself this pure state of being. You have to know that these things, and I'll talk to you, what are these other things that you talk about? Here I'll mention pride, vanity, boasting, emptiness, hatred, treachery, rancor, greed, false hopes, holding grudges, jealousy, irritation, worry, restlessness, expectations, accumulation, withholding, cowardice, ignorance, laziness, aversion, antipathy, following your desires, mockery, demanding, conceit, impetuosity, love of comfort, heedlessness, quarrelsomeness, domination, tyranny, enmity, discord, opposition, contradiction, fighting, rivalry, slander, false accusation, lies, backbiting, foolishness, obscenities, bad opinions, blame, insolence, betrayal, swindling, maliciousness, and debauchery. These are the things, impure states of being. You have those things, that's an impure state of being. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. That's what he's saying. You will never get to inward knowledge unless you get rid of those things. What they do, what the Shaykh wants to do with you, to encourage you for what? Prayer, fasting, isolation, silence, invocation with the tongue, until you perfect your outward knowledge and you begin to taste this sweetness and this secret business inside of you. This means once you've tasted the sweetness of prayer and fasting and isolation and this and all of these things, then you will be beginning to reaching the understanding of the outward wisdom. And then Shaykh will show you all of these things. He'll show you how your vanity, where's your pride, where's your emptiness, all of these things, your love of wealth, your love of reputation, you want to be a leader, you want your anger, your impatience, all of these things, he will show them to you. But he won't show them to you until he gives you the sweetness of this other thing. Or say, oh, so nice. Okay, now you know what's nice, now let me show you what's filthy. Okay? Now you know what's nice. Okay, here's the filthy things inside of you. Here are the things inside of all of us. The things that I mentioned, are these things that are not? Are these things unknown to anybody here? No. Everybody of us know these things, and I include myself as well. We all know these things. So we don't understand until you have this other thing. It's like you can't get rid of something until you know the other thing. You say, this is good. Okay, now you know what's good, let me show you the bad. Now you know what's good, let me show you the bad. Let's get rid of the bad so that you have more of the good. Huh? So he said, what are the roots of these things? 1, to be pleased with your own self. 2, to fear other people or creation. 3, to be concerned about what you're going to eat. From the first one, to be pleased with yourself becomes desire, forgetfulness, and disobedience. From the second, you get from the fear of creation, anger and rancor and jealousy. From the third, to be concerned about your provision, greed and expectation and avarice. Huh? And then Ibn Ata'illah, one of our great teachers in the Hikam, says, the root of every disobedience and desire and forgetfulness is contentment with the self, and the root of every obedience and wakefulness and abstention is you not being content with yourself. So he said, okay, when you get to that, they tell you, what do they tell you? Shaykh tells you, he says, I'm going to give you the glass of death, and you drink it. And the nafs scream, how can you kill me? This means that if the Shaykh wants to move the murid to the inward action, he orders him to eliminate the self. That's the cause of the life of the spirit. As Ibn Farid radiallahu ta'ala said, in death, there is my life. The shayukh make the murid drink the glass of death against the will of their own self by breaking their habits, stopping them from desires, and the greatest of habits are might and reputation. So then he talk about, again, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He talk about that Shaykh Abu Madyan al-Ghaus said, the one who does not die does not see the truth. Meaning what we're talking about. The one who does not give up these things, the one who does not die to this pride and this vanity and boasting and all these things. If you don't die to that, if you don't die to that, if you don't give up unto that, what happens? You will never see the truth. And Mursi Abul Abbas radiallahu ta'ala said, there's no entering upon Allah except by 2 doors. 1, the great annihilation, which is the natural death, and 2nd, the lesser annihilation, with which is what we're concerned. He says there's 4 kinds of death. The red death, to oppose yourself. The black death, to endure the trials and harms of creation. The white death, which is hunger from fasting, all kinds of fasting. The green death, which is finally to wear the patched robe. And Shaykh Ahmed al-Zarruq radiallahu ta'ala an, Qaddasallahu Sirruhu, says, the death of the self does not occur except by 3 means. 1, isolated from its willingness, so that it neither moves nor remains still except by the realization of intention that is in accord with knowledge without desire. Knowledge without desire. Knowledge without desire. Turn away from everything that it appreciates in the world of the bodies and the natures, the knowledges and the deeds, the meanness and the covetousness and realities and basics. 3rd, give up what you incline to. Mursi Abul Abbas said, the wali does not arrive at Allah until the desire for arrival is cut off from himself. And this means with courtesy and submission, not with boredom, as Shaykh Ibn Ata'illah said about that. And Shaykh alayhi-s-salaam ibn Mashish said, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from the coolness of pleasure and submission, like others seek refuge in you from the heat of disobedience and management. And Shaykh Wasiti said, to find obedience sweet is a deadly poison. And the phrase, and the nafs scream, how can you kill me? This is the tongue of the state of the self. Men hear from the inwardness of their self, as it were, sensory speech, and the self would choose sensory death by preference, and it stays that way until it is tamed and disciplined, and his sign of the death is that. When somebody loves, when somebody enters the company of a shaykh, his heart is kindled with the love of Allah. When they leave that blessed company, the flame of Allah the flame of the love is threatened by the winds of the environment around them. And if the person commits a sin, the love of Allah would be extinguished. And therefore it's necessary to safeguard yourself. Necessary to keep the flame, also the fuel. And the fuel is the mu'amalat, the jobs that the shaykh gives you. Every shaykh gives you jobs. That job is your fuel. 2 things. You got to make the flame burn like this, not like this and like that, and you have to have fuel to feed it. The fuel they feed it is a job. Cook the food, get the chairs, clean the windows, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. That's the job the shaykh gave you. Say, alhamdulillah, like we know from Shaykh Muhammad, he had the job, his job was for 2 years, arranging the shoes outside the zawiyah. That was his job. Not a job, it means nothing. The job means nothing. Nothing. It's a job that the shaykh gave you for a purpose. That's the fuel for the fire of your himmah. It's what fuels it. He give you pay attention to the Shaykh. He give you it look like what's he doing? He's asking me to, I mean, I used to be concerned. Shaykh used to tell me, go do this, go do that. Why is he telling me to do these things? Go give me the paper. But they're not going to get the paper. Send the boy to get the paper. Didn't even need me to get the paper. He said, go and get the paper. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I go get the paper. He's giving me a job. They give me a job for a reason, but it took a time to understand why the Shaykh do these things. What's he doing? What's he doing? He's giving you the fuel for the fire. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So if you take a mirror that's been lying around, he did the story, the mirror that's lying around is covered in dust, and you put it out in the sunshine next to a clean, polished mirror, and the sun shines on both of them equally, and they both will shine, but the polished mirror gives off a bright light, and the other one gives off a dull light. This is the thing. The friends of Allah make their efforts on their hearts so that they become pure, and they become clean, and when they're pure, they get the ma'rifat. They get the knowledge of Allah, and the hearts of sinners are dulled by their sins, like with the things that we mentioned before, so they don't acquire to that knowledge. When a murid connects himself to a Shaykh, but his intentions are insincere, and this is a very important part, although the Shaykh's heart emulates spirituality, it will not enter the heart of the murid. Situation is just similar to what somebody wants to collect rainwater, and they place a bucket outside turned upside down. So the rain rains, but the bucket's turned upside down. So in the same way, the spirituality of the Shaykh will never fill the insincere person's heart. And having corrupt intentions means that the vessel of the heart is overturned, unable to receive any benefit from the Shaykh. Haji Madullah Makki used to say that the mercy and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends on that person who gains a place of love in the heart of the Shaykh. And the reason is that the mercy and love of Allah continuously descend on the heart of the Shaykh, so that when someone else's love penetrates the heart of the Shaykh, he becomes a recipient of the mercy and the love of Allah. So, a story. Maulana was very young at that time, and there was a rich man, he wanted to make it to Hajj. And so, but they didn't know each other. They went by camel, and they reached the sea, and they took a ship, and they went to Jeddah, and they went by donkey from Jeddah to Mecca. That's how they made their trip. Anyway, the rich man was accompanying, and he didn't understand that this was a wali, and he told this wali, he says, you're going to be my companion, and I'm going to spend everything. You know the way rich people are. I mean, I'm going to do everything. Yes, like that. That's the way I'm going to take care of you. You don't have, like, because you see, the wali was, like the way walis are. And he said, okay, like that. And he said, all right. But we tell you, don't, if you're going to go by the wali, don't think it's going to be easy. So he said, and the Shaykh mentioned here, there's 3 things you must ask your Shaykh. This is important. 3 things you have to ask your Shaykh. One, when you want to travel for Hajj, you have to ask the Shaykh to see if he gives permission or not, because every time Allah doesn't send his tajaliyat on the people of Arafat. And when you stand waqaf on Arafat, that is the Hajj, even if you don't complete the rest of it. So the Shaykh looks at the Lawh Mahfuz to see if that's the year of that. Okay, that Hajj. Also when you marry, you might be in love or fall in love with somebody, but you must ask the Shaykh, as he or she may not be the one who's written for you, and when you want to move from one place to another. So remember this, Hajj, marriage and moving, ask the Shaykh always. Anyway, go back to the story. So he said, I want to go with you on the Hajj. And the wife says, okay, and so off they went. And then they got on the boat, like I mentioned. And then, like when you put your passport, you put it here and you cover it and you take care of it and everything like that. So the wali says to him, he says, where are you putting your money? The guy becomes a little bit suspicious right away, He says, I'm putting it inside of my chest. I'm going to keep it under my clothes because I don't want anybody to steal it. The wali says, give it to me.